Well, then let's get this show on the road. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Ink, the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and professionals in the publishing industry. This week, we've got some returning guests coming back to talk about their upcoming releases. But before we get to that, let's welcome back David, who hasn't been around since I don't know when. David, where have you been?
Here, there, and everywhere. Working on many projects. So, just juggling everything. New baby, new board games, new books, traveling. So, but it's good to be back.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and we'll get on to a little bit more of where you've been later, but let's go ahead and introduce our guests, because like I said, they've got some great new releases to talk about, and we'll be discussing marketing strategies in this episode. So without further ado, J.E. Taylor, you want to take it out?
Sure. My new release, which comes out tomorrow, is Red. It's the first in my Fractured Fairy Tale series. I decided to get on the fairy tale bandwagon and do paranormal romance, twisted tales. So Red is about Little Red Riding Hood. So
I like it. I like the whole trend towards taking what you know and flipping it into something totally different. I really enjoy reading everybody's take on that.
Yes. So I'm planning an 8-book series. Red is the first. I've got Cinder coming out in February, March, and I have Brave coming out in April, and then a few others. I haven't released Brave's cover yet because I haven't quite finished it. So I'm hoping to finish it this weekend.
Now, are these all sequels to each other? Do they all stack onto each other? Or they're standalones?
They're all standalones.
Yeah. How many of the fairy tale characters are you touching on? You said Little Red Riding Hood. You said Brave. What was the other one?
Cinder. So Cinderella, Snow White. I've got Rapunzel. I've got Beauty and the Beast. Wait, I lost count. So.
Any Little Mermaid in there?
No, because I did the Paradox Files series with a mermaid in it, and I'm like, I don't want to go that route.
You said that they're twisted. How twisted do we go? Like,
it's more paranormal romance, so I'm just taking the basics that we know and twisting them into my own story. So I'm not following along completely, but the elements of each one will be in there. So, like Cinder, you have the evil stepmother. And you have the grandmother and the wolf. So
you have all the main players from each story, but then you just reinterpreted the material to make it darker and more paranormal.
Yes, exactly. Cool. And there's I have to put it as romance because I'm making them all romances. So.
Oh, that's great. That sounds really interesting. Now, Katie, you mentioned that you beta read this book earlier before we recorded. So can you give us your quick take on it?
That's okay.
Yeah, I was actually excited to beta read this one. Like I said, I really like when people take fairy tales and twist them and create their own stories. And I was not disappointed at all by this one. It had all of the elements I expected with the twist of werewolves in it, which I really, really enjoy reading about. So it was a good read. It kept me up all night. I couldn't put it down. I said I was just going to read, a chapter or two and be done. Next thing you know, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm still rushing to finish the books. I have to know how it ends. So definitely worth reading.
Good. So it's a page turner. That's
awesome. I try.
Well, congratulations on finishing your book. And you said that launches tomorrow.
Yes, that launches tomorrow.
Oh, just in time for Valentine's Day.
Yes, exactly. That was the goal, but I wanted it out a little bit before that.
No, you did it. Now people can give it to their Valentine.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. All right, let's put a pin on that for 1 second because I want to talk about the marketing strategy for your new release. And let's flip it over to Jacob and let's talk about your upcoming new release. You also write a twisted version of fairy tales, but for the younger sort, right?
Yeah, so mine has been described more as kind of upper middle grade. And so the third book is coming out on the 20th, so just a couple of weeks. Really excited about that. And it picks up on the children of three main fairy tale characters. So it picks up on the lives of Pinocchio, Peter Pan, and Alice after they've grown up and have kids of their own. So the twist really is that we're following their teenage children for the most part. And then every now and then we get the adult point of view, but it's really kind of about these kids growing up and kind of what they're dealing with in the fairy tale world, but also kind of the ins and outs of growing up in everyday life too.
Now, how close does the fairy tale world touch on the real world? Do they cross over?
Every now and then. So there's kind of like this big catastrophe that happens at the end of the first book that sort of opens up this big door between the two worlds. And so you'll start to see, their lives sort of cross over, and, the people from the fairy tale world are coming over to our world, and these fairy tale and, the real world characters are spilling over into the woodlands. And so you start to see them, blur a little bit, which is a lot of fun to do.
Awesome. Now, there's 3 in your series, correct?
Correct. Yeah. The final book. It's kind of sad. Bittersweet.
That's hard ending a series. But now you have plans for future books, correct? Like spin-off series or worlds within the world, but maybe new characters?
That's my hope. Yeah. So I'm trying to kind of stick to this world that I've created, but do different things with it. So, either bring in new protagonists or, kind of introduce other characters that I didn't really get to play a lot with in the original trilogy. So the spinoff that I've been working on right now centers on a whole new family that gets to visit this fairy tale world. But it kind of has a different spin on it because it's not entirely obvious that it's the same world from the first 3 books. But you start to run into, the minor characters from the original trilogy, the ones that survive at least. And so they make their little appearances. And so I wanted to have kind of that bridge that ties them together, but it's a brand new, set of characters, and I just want to kind of keep on building on that so that I can keep working with this world, but do different things with it.
Book 1 is mostly about Pinocchio's story, and he's an adult now and he's got kids, right?
Yeah, primarily. That's how it starts off. So it starts with Pinocchio's son kind of having to, come to terms with the fact that, his father goes missing. So Pinocchio just goes missing in the blink of an eye. And so his son has to go and look for all of the adults, because basically all the adults are missing. And all he really has to go off of are these carvings that Pinocchio made. So he kind of took over Geppetto's legacy of being like the puppet master and the wood carver. And so the son is going around trying to find the people who match the figurines so that they can all come together, rescue their families, and then basically dethrone this evil queen. So. Oh,
that's really interesting. So now when you get to book 2, you said that's mostly Peter Pan's settings, so to speak. So do they sort of team up? Like, do these kids form a group and now they're all like buddies, or does it sort of just shift the entire series over?
For the most part, they're buddying up and they're teaming up. So the second one actually has a little bit more to do with Alice. So they end up in Wonderland. And, things kind of happen that drive them apart. And so you're kind of following separate storylines for the beginning, but their paths keep on crossing. There's all these different things that are going on in Wonderland. There's kings fighting and just all these, interesting things happening that bring them back together so that they, can kind of move forward with their overall quest, which is to find their parents again. And then the third one is a little bit more Peter Pan centric. They get to visit Neverland, but the whole time they're pretty much teamed up and trying to take down this queen together.
Oh, that's so cool, because the way you're describing it, it sort of sounds like Kingdom Hearts to me, where they can visit each other's worlds, and you have all of these pieces that even just alone are very interesting. But when you start thinking of the possibilities of like the crossovers, you're like, oh my God, that's such a great idea.
I love that you said that. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts was actually a big inspiration for me. I'm such a geek over the Kingdom Hearts lore. So.
Nice. Oh my God. Because I remember when I met you, when we were in Phoenix, I saw your cover art and I fell in love with it. And you told me the premise and I was like, oh my God, I should read this. I'm sorry, I still haven't, but I'm going to. Wow. Now my mind is just going like, what could happen? Like, so much could happen.
Right.
So the third book is called what?
The Hummingbird, yeah. And I don't have the paperback yet, but yeah, it'll come out on the 20th. So.
Oh, that's so cool, man. And so the first 2 books are called?
The first one's called The Carver, and then the second one is The Unseen.
And this is there a series?
Yeah, so the overall series is called The Order of the Bell. And yeah, so it's The Carver, The Unseen, and The Hummingbird.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, I like that both of you guys are doing series that are ongoing, whether or not, you said you've got yours ending at 3, but you're writing an offshoot to it. And then Jane, you're writing a extended individual, but they're all together as fairy tales type series. Do you find that when you do that, your audience follows through from book to book to book and you see consistent sales that way?
Well, considering this is my first one for this, I'm hoping that's the case. It's something a little bit different for me because, I have to follow the tomes of romance versus the other stuff that I've written. I go all over the place on that stuff, the paranormal suspense. You can have romance in it, but it doesn't have to end with a happy ending or happy for now. So, that, and most of mine don't, until you get to the end of the series. So this is different in that respect. So I'm hoping my readers will follow along. Obviously, I'm not bringing any of my characters from my other books into any of these because they don't belong in the fairy tale world. So, while I've done crossovers, I think on almost every series I have has somebody from another series in it. So it's sort of like a wild ribbon of lives. This is one separate, distinct book for each 8 fairy tales that I'm doing. So it's going to be tough. And another thing is I'm trying to write in the period of, what I think the fairy tales are. And some of them are the, medieval period and trying to have some authenticity there. And that's been tough because I'm like, oh, you can't just flip on a light switch. Oops. Things like that. Jacob, are you writing in the here and now, or are you writing in the period time that Pinocchio was originally set in?
Yeah, so they sort of cross over a little bit. So it starts off where they're in our world, and it's very much modern. Like the son of Pinocchio is like always on his iPhone and stuff. But then when they get to the fairy tale world, it's sort of timeless and still has that rustic feel. So I kind of flip flop between 2 different feels in some ways.
Sorry, Katie, I interrupted you.
Oh, that's a great question. That's a wonderful question because that's important. Where is the time in the setting? And what about you? Are you writing more modern or more classic timelessness?
For the fractured fairy tales, I'm trying to follow along with the timelines. Like Cinderella was in the Middle Ages, Brave is in the Middle Ages. Some of the other ones I can play around with a little bit, but yeah, it's like, oh my God, what do they eat? Just little things like that. And it's like, okay, I have to think about those things because I can't just conveniently have, pastries show up because they didn't really eat pastries back then.
So then, isn't Beauty and the Beast set in France?
Yes.
So is Belle French?
I haven't yet, but I probably will set it in that stage, even though I've never been to France, but I'm setting a lot of things in England and I've never been in England. So
well, I mean, yeah, the research is important, but like to play more into the actual worlds that they should be set in, I think would give it a greater sense of like personal identity. Like a lot of the stories are Americanized, and
right.
I think that takes away from the impact of the story. Like, so, if you put it in the actual setting, I think it'll ring a lot more authentic.
Yeah, it's been interesting. The research is always fun.
That's usually the most fun part, is actually digging in and like figuring out what should be happening and what works and what doesn't. I don't know about you, but I tend to get lost in research. I'll spend all night on stupid topics. Don't ever check my
So then, what are you guys doing to gear up for your marketing? Katie wanted to touch on that. So are you guys doing online marketing, or what avenues are you tapping into?
Oh, let's preface that real quick, though, because one of you is indie, the other one is small press. So that's going to make a big difference on how your marketing goes as well. So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I wanted to make sure that our viewers know that we're going to be looking at this from different angles too.
Right. So we should tell them who is who. Jacob is small press, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jacob, so as a small press author, like what avenues do you guys tap into for your marketing purposes?
Yeah, so the cool thing about Blaze Publishing is that they're very much a 50-50 kind of press. You know, they kind of expect me to, you know, do a little bit on my end, but I always know that they're doing something on their end too. It's very much a partnership and a team sort of situation. And so they are starting to outline, you know, different websites that they want to start boosting sales in. So I know that they're going to start doing Facebook ads primarily for the first book, because it's kind of difficult releasing a trilogy, I'm realizing, because like we had a point where we were hitting the second book really, really hard, but primarily to people who hadn't read the first one yet. And it's very much like you have to have read the first one in order to pick up on it. So so for this one, you need to, we're going to try to do a little bit more targeted marketing for the first book again, and just kind of letting them know, like, hey, it's a complete trilogy now. So I think they're going to do some Facebook advertisements, some of those paid ads. They're going to do, gosh, I think 2 or 3 more. I think some on Amazon. And then for me, I think I'm going to do kind of a little bit more of the social media work. So, you know, Instagram and Twitter, I might look into doing some paid ads for that. And then just kind of, you know, using my author pool, reaching out to people and, you know, asking them to share on their blogs and such, if they're willing to do that. And then, of course, some face-to-face stuff too. Like I'm going to a high school this coming Monday and just trying to build some word of mouth here in my own community, and hoping that they'll kind of get behind it and share a little bit too.
Oh, that's cool. And now that it's a final like trilogy, you can create a box set, and you can actually, you know, market it as such down the line. I'm pretty sure, you know, you want to sell the third book. It's new, it's fresh here, check it out. But then down the line, you can be like, check it out, guys. It's like, it's not just 1 book, it's like 3 books.
Yeah, definitely. People get so excited that it's a complete set. So
that's a really big milestone. Like, how long have you been working on this series? When did you start it?
a little over 3 years ago now. Yeah, so I was in graduate school and I was kind of writing The Carver as a side project during times when I should have been working on my thesis. Just basically, trying to keep the creative juices flowing and, kind of give myself something fun to do, a little escape from all the academic stuff. I think I started it February of 2015, I'm pretty sure. And then it was published in the summer of 2016. And so it's been a release every year.
That's good that you can stay consistent too, because I'm a terrible procrastinator and my books come out a little more sporadically.
Now, Jane, you bring your books out quite regularly. You're what, 3 on average a year or better?
Yeah, usually about 4. And this year I'm trying to get 8. So, and I'm trying to get it all before we go on vacation in June. So, I'm just finishing up the 3rd book. I'm a little bit behind because life kind of got in the way, and, we had weekends away and stuff like that. I work full time during the day, so getting this in at night is challenging at best.
That's no small feat. I can appreciate that, only being able to work at night.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've had kids and stuff. It's going to be a challenge, but these are novelettes, not full novels, so that makes it a little easier. I write fast when I have the idea baked in my head. That's the problem. I got to get it baked in my head, or I've started outlining, which is not something I used to do. So, I'm usually fly by the seat of my pants and just go. So outlining has helped a little bit, but yeah, I'm trying to get a book out every 6 weeks.
Oof, that is a rough schedule to maintain.
That is insane.
And then June and July I take off.
Okay, so let's talk about this for 1 second. So you're on a 6-week schedule. And you've got multiple books out already, so you're no stranger to marketing your work. But with this new series, I know that you'd set yourself a goal of trying to hit a list with it. Yeah. And that is a hard thing to do. What have you been doing as your prep work, as your pre-marketing leading up to this release, and how is it working for you? Well,
I wanted to try to do it without sinking lots of money into it, because I just I'm paying for my son's college, so there is no money. So I'm trying to do the free avenues, the news, get newsletters, every now and then do a contest to get signups for either Amazon or BookBub, just to build that. And I've also built my newsletter myself. So I'm up at like 7,000 active users or readers. So that's good. It was up at like 14,000, but I had like half of the people never opened anything. And I'm like, I'm not paying for this service. So I went down. So it's a lot of social media marketing, Twitter marketing, any of the free stuff that you can get. And now I'm at 99 cents. So I'm trying to get the 99-cent sites to that factor in. I have a couple ads going out at the end of this week before my book goes back up to normal price, but with everything that I've done, I'm nowhere near the list making, but I am at least double of the best release I've ever had. So it's working, but it's slow, and it's little bits here and there.
It's tough to figure out what works. And I know we've said it before on the show that what works for one book does not always work for another book. So a lot of the marketing tips and advice that authors hear out there, it's not the one size fits all they think it is. And sometimes they get disheartened when they try something and it doesn't quite work the way they expected.
Right. And I've hit or miss on some things, and I'm like, okay, well, let's move on. I'm not great at Facebook ads or Amazon ads. I've got to get better at those. I've got to sort of understand the tweaking, but I don't have a lot of time to tweak. So it's like, do I spend the time marketing, or do I spend the time writing and getting the books out there and try to get it homegrown, word?
Well, and that's a valid point. It's a lot of time consuming work to even just to create like an Amazon ad. There's no extra visuals that you have to create for it, but you have to come up with all the keywords. You have to test the keywords out. You have to keep an eye on that ad, constantly checking to see what's working, what's not. Because let's say you've got a keyword that's getting hundreds of clicks and they're costing you money, but you're not seeing any follow through. Those clicks So
exactly.
And their reporting is so slow that it takes about 3 days for you to know if a click equated to a sale.
Right.
So you could be wasting money for nothing.
Right. And Facebook, same thing. I might be getting it in front of a lot of eyes, but I'm not getting clicks because they're expecting, a lot of people expect free. So, or Kindle Unlimited, which I pulled out of Kindle Unlimited on Wide. So that hurt.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of authors say that. I have not been brave enough to leave Kindle Unlimited because, it's your paycheck. And when it goes down by more than half, if you leave Kindle Unlimited, it really hurts.
Yeah, mine plummeted, and I'm just clawing my way back up to close to what I was getting per month before, but it's still rough. So
beyond Kindle, what is your next best distribution channel?
iTunes, iBooks, sorry. Kobo sometimes. It depends if I'm in one of their features. So they have monthly features that you can have a percentage of your sales taken off if you're accepted. So that when I'm in those, I do well. Between iTunes, Kindle, Kobo, and Kindle, Barnes and Noble's a lost thing. Google, maybe 10 a month.
With pronoun, Google became kind of a non-player because a lot of people don't have the ability to get into Google, and they were doing pronoun to get through it. Since pronoun closed down, that's another avenue that a lot of authors can't use.
Right. Well, I was in Google for a long time, so I still had my account. I never closed it, and that's probably what saved my thing.
Now, speaking of, going wide versus using Kindle or Kindle Unlimited, Jacob, as a small press, you don't have the choice on what you do. What does your publisher tend to go with?
I think it's a lot of my sales end up going through Amazon. I think the bulk of my royalties end up coming through the ebooks, actually. So they send me the royalty report every month. And yeah, we get a couple paperbacks sold. At one point we were in Barnes & Nobles and that worked out kind of well. But really kind of the bulk of everything ends up being sales from the ebooks, actually. So some months are really, really good and can generate quite a bit of money just from these 99-cent sales that we do every now and then.
Now, are you wide distribution or are you strictly through Kindle?
I think it's strictly through Kindle now. Blaze was partnered with a distributor at one point. They were through the Midpoint agency. That didn't end up working out too well in the end. So they dropped that, and I think now it's just back to doing everything through Amazon at this point.
So are you enrolled in the Kindle Unlimited program too?
I don't think so, actually.
Because that's where a lot of authors, as much as people complain about it, and there is a lot to complain about, most authors stick with it because that tends to be where the money's at. A lot of people, a lot of readers especially, who are on limited budgets or who just don't want to sink too much money into their passion for reading, go with the option of having that service. $10 a month, you can read, I think it's 10 books a month, and that's just fine by them. And that's where a lot of people are getting these click-through reads.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't actually know very much about it. So
okay, yeah, it's a borrowing function that the authors get paid by the page read. So it's interesting.
Go down the rabbit hole of researching it, because there's so much good and so much bad involved. You will spend weeks trying to figure out where you'd want to be.
And it's a constantly changing platform. Like, a lot of people were cheating the system and getting a lot of money off of, cheating the system off of like making giant books, and then it's like per page or something like that. And then so they keep changing the rules.
Yeah, they used to have it a set fee for the borrow, which I kind of liked, but people were getting upset because people had really short books. So they changed it, and then people were making really long books. So, yes.
Every time they've made an adjustment, there has been somebody who's figured out how to game the system. I think the current method right now is book stuffing. And basically what that amounts to is, let's say you have a book and you put the book in there. It's a regular, normal ebook. And then at the back of it, you stuff an extra book in there. And in your table of contents, you have exclusive read listed in there so that people want to click on that link. And it takes them all the way to the end of the book where there's another book in there. And it might be a legitimate book, or it might be a series of sample chapters for an author's upcoming work or other works. But it creates an extra, couple hundred to 1,000 pages, and it stuffs that book. And as soon as the reader accounts for what page they're on, the author gets paid for that many page reads.
Whether they actually swiped or not.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's been the new way to game the system, is they're stuffing books now.
Crazy.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of good, a lot of bad. I'm still in it because, like I said, that is my paycheck. So I can't cut myself in half and go wide if I know it's going to take 6 months to rebuild that back up again. And that seems to be the average of what most people are saying. When they go wide, there's a really long tail of having to rebuild your fan base.
Absolutely. And the visibility, you get pushed down if you're not in Kindle Unlimited. So you have to do a lot more to become visible.
Of course, now with that said, new releases, I may still consider going wide to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, speaking of new releases and doing our pre-marketing. So we've talked about doing the email swaps, the newsletters, as one marketing tactic. We've talked about doing the Amazon ads, the Facebook ads. Jacob, you mentioned Twitter ads. Have you had any luck with those?
I haven't tried it yet, but I'm starting to put it together. And I was going to talk to a couple of my friends who have tried it out and see if they felt that it was worth it in the end. But I think it's a risk that I'm willing to take. I mean, I'm willing to try something kind of new this time. And I'm also doing a giveaway on Instagram, and I was going to plan on going with some newsletters too. Just got to build those up. So.
Now, how do you go about doing a giveaway on Instagram? That's a platform that I'm not as familiar with. I do use it for posting pictures, but not for marketing.
Yeah, so it's turned out to be pretty successful for me, actually, because I feel like the young adult audience is primarily on Instagram. We've discussed with my publishers. And so for the giveaway that I'm doing right now, because I'm releasing my third book, I'm offering up 3 of my favorite books, so just like other books that I really love. And so the rules for that, I told them, if you follow me on here and you comment on this picture with and tag a friend that you feel would really love these, or a friend who really loves to read. Then that's one way to enter. And then the second way is you can subscribe to my newsletter, link in the bio, and then reply to the welcome email or to any other email if you've already been subscribed, and just tell me your favorite fairy tale character. And then the third way, gosh, what am I doing? Oh, I also posted it on Twitter, and I said if you retweet that tweet, that's a third entry, so they can get up to 3 different entries. And I've actually had quite a few that have come in over the past few days since I posted that giveaway. So
that's awesome. And you said you're giving away 3 physical books?
Yeah, so 3 paperbacks, and then just a bunch of Carver swag. We have a bunch of buttons and bookmarks and posters made, so thought I would throw some of those in there too.
Awesome. See, and that's a site that I don't use for the marketing, so I've never actually seen how anybody utilizes it. Now, I agree with you, though, that that's where the young adult market is. I was actually just talking with another author last week about that, because her teenage daughter is constantly on Instagram, and she writes young adult books. So she's like, yeah, my publisher was telling me I need to be here too. Jane, what about you? Where's your favorite place to put out your marketing for social media?
Well, obviously Facebook, because that I have a big following there. And then I have Twitter. I haven't gotten into the Instagram either, but I do have an account now. So, so I have that, and the YouTube channels.
Oh, that's right. A lot of people are going to doing vlogging again on YouTube as a way to reach out to people.
Yep. Yeah. My son's doing that more than I am, but that's okay. He has his own channel now.
Jacob, how about you? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but I have I've been embarrassingly non-active on it. I think I have maybe 2 or 3 videos. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with it, honestly. So what do you do with it, Jane?
Well, channel is not very active, but I link to my son's channel. So whenever he posts, anybody who's following me can see his stuff. But I have all my trailers up there that I had from way back when. I have to get active on it. I've been sort of watching my son and listening to him, and he's talking about monetizing his channel or this and that, and I'm like, so I'm like, well, tell me what happens when you're a millionaire. So
I think that some people are more successful when they just pick one avenue and stick with it. Like, it's so easy to be like, okay, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitch, I'm on all these different sites and stuff. But I think, if you just stick with one and you keep going on that, maybe that focused attention could really help you.
Yeah, I've been out too quickly if you go to too many channels. I couldn't keep track of them all.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really tricky.
I have an auto tweet thing, so I will go out and enhance my tweets. If I read a really good book or a series, I put it as my favorite. So it's rotating every day. So I just set it and forget it, and then I post every day from something I get at work that has a little a saying or something at the bottom of it. And I'll post that because I'm like, okay, well, I kind of like that saying, so I'm going to put it out there. And it links to the SIFMA website. Twitter is sort of like, set it and go. Facebook is where I do most of my stuff.
Do you find that if you interact with your readers a lot, that you create a community? Because a lot of the authors that we've previously interviewed, they create a nice group and they keep interacting with their fans, and then those fans remain loyal.
Yes, I have a street team on there. So it took me a while to get to there because I was slow in getting all the tools and marketing stuff. I was heads down writing for many years, and I've got 54 books now since 2007. So
Well,
yeah.
I had no idea you had that many. That's whoa.
Yeah. We counted them and we're like, holy crap. That's short stories. That's all the published material I have. I also do audiobooks, so I use ACX and get audio as well.
See, I'm with you. I like being head down, get the writing done. The marketing is just so unbelievably frustrating.
Yeah. Someday I'll hire somebody.
Right, there you go. And I've even done the street team, and I hate calling it that too. I just call it, just my reader group. And, I'll have periods where I'll be really super interactive on that group. And then there's like a month or two where I don't say a single thing because my mind is on whatever story I'm writing. And then I come back and it's like a ghost town.
Well, I asked them, I said, what do you want to hear? What do you want from me in this group? What are the things you want me to post about? So they said about my life. I'm like, all right. So I've done a few, not a ton, but enough to get a lot of reaction. So, I have, and that's where I culled some of my advanced readers. I have a small set of advanced readers. Getting them to actually review, that's another thing. I've got to cull that list a little bit more because they'll grab it, but the reviews that come out are just slow and painful.
I tend to find with the advanced readers, I get good responses from the betas. Mm-hmm. The reviews, I do tend to go with like a marketing service for a book release who specializes in keeping a list of the good readers and actually harping on them, post your review, post your review, post your review. And, I may not get a whole bunch of reviews come release day, but I've gotten upwards of 30 before, and I'm very happy with that. Right. That's a good starting place to be.
Yeah. In a few years, I'll have time.
And that's really where my marketing money goes. It's just that initial burst, and then I have nothing left. I just hopefully it keeps going.
How do you keep up a continuous stream? I think that's the greatest mystery to me is how do you keep a constant stream? Just keep paying for the ads, I guess?
I did it once, and the Facebook ads and Amazon ads and BookBub ads I didn't see much going through it. So I said, well, that's not profitable for me, so I'm not going to put money into it.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get back into it at some point, but right now it's like, I got to be picky.
Yeah. I've found at least in personal experience, and I don't have a huge range to go off on this, for the US don't seem to do good at all. I really don't see much click-through. I don't see much feedback on those. But when I do ads targeted towards the UK or Australia or Canada, I tend to get more of a response. So lately that's been my strategy, is to focus more on the small ads, sending them out to the other countries and still using my regular US Amazon link, because that seems to be getting the response back. I get the clicks. I also see the results. And if they don't have the US link, sometimes they'll already go through and do their current country's link. And I'll see, all of a sudden UK is spiking, and all of a sudden, Australia, I'm seeing spikes from them too.
That's interesting that you can actually track that, though.
The sample size on that's really small, though, because I've only been working on that for the last couple of months. So it could be a fluke, or it could actually be a thing. I don't know yet. It's really, though, it's a gamble, the whole marketing angle and figuring out what works. And I look at groups like, I don't know if you guys are on Facebook, but there's that 20 books to 50K group. And sometimes I go in there and I'm just amazed by what they post and what's working for them. But I can't seem to replicate the same thing.
I agree. I'm in that group too, and I look at the stuff and I'm like, okay, how do I make this fit my model? And it just doesn't seem to make it in some cases. And some of that's science fiction, and which I don't write. So I know my business partner Jason writes in science fiction, and for the longest time he was just amazingly successful. When everything, well, that was 2012, 2013, the heyday of everybody got their Kindles and they were buying everything on earth.
and those days.
I know, I do too. That was probably my best year. But and he has probably double the amount of books I do. So, but he writes in the science fiction and pure fantasy, versus we're more paranormal. And it's I think it's a tougher thing to break into and stay up at the top at. But
very true.
What I love.
Well, and that group, they do advocate a lot about writing to market. And we've talked about that a lot in the last couple of months on the show, about whether or not writing to market is for you, what writing to market actually means. And, it's a tough choice to make, because writing to market, you are writing specifically to what is trending right now.
Right. It's pulling trends, and it's like chasing the stock market. You have to really analyze the data to know what the current trends are and what the signs are for the beginning trends to get in at that point. Because if you get in at peak or as it's going down, you're lost. So
Right. Well, and then there's the other school of thought. It's, write what you're passionate about, and your passion will flow through to your words. You may not be writing in a niche market. You may not be writing in a hot market, but you're writing something that you can really connect with. And that may mean that it's going to be a slower burn for you. It's not going to be the quick success. That is a word I cannot say. the
combinations, huh?
Words are hard.
Okay, seriously, I've got a talk I'm giving on Monday called How to Have a Successful Book Signing. I can't say the word success.
Good book signing.
Oh, it is beautifully there.
So I got to work on that. But yeah, it's a slow burn on those that are your passion projects. And, maybe your passion falls into one of the niche markets that are hot right now, but for the most part, it doesn't. And what do? How do you not lose hope when you're writing in a genre that's going to take extra work to reach the readers?
From my standpoint, I'm not doing this. This isn't my only income. This is my mad money. So right now, it's not critical, but I can, so I have the freedom to do whatever I really want to. And I've bashed genres, and I've done a lot of things that are just not standard, but I've had fun. So that's where, and the people who do read it love it most of the time. My repeat fans love my stuff. I don't know. I'm not following the dollar. That's where I'm at.
I actually really like that perspective. That's pretty cool because, some of us are like, oh my God, my life depends on this. But I like that you can sort of pull yourself back and be like, you know what? I'm just going to do my thing. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure off.
Well, yeah, there's pressures in different ways because, it's not my income, and my day job is, 40, normally 40. Lately, it's been 50 to 60. Depends on if we have bills or not. I'm in an IT world, so. And there are days I come home and I have nothing to give to writing, which has been frustrating as all get out,
You're only human. You only have so much energy per day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll sleep when I'm dead, right?
Famous last words. Sleep deprivation eventually makes you go insane. Although I think all writers are a little bit insane to begin with.
Just a little bit.
So, Jacob, what's your take on that? Do you write to market? Do you write passion projects? Where do you fit into that mold?
I think I'm definitely more of a passion project kind of person because, like I said, when I started writing The Carver, I always thought in the back of my mind, sure, it would be fun if this ever got published, but primarily I was just writing it because it was fun. And, I was just looking for, ways to escape from, graduate school. And I think, honestly, even after I got that first book deal, I was still just writing, what the kind of book that I wanted to read, honestly. And it's hard to really nail down what the market is for it. There are people who say that it's very much a young adult kind of series. Some say that it's more middle grade. There's been debate on who the target audience should be. But really, when I talk about it, I'm like, I'm the target audience. I wrote the book that I wanted to read. and you find those people who, kind of fill that same, those same interests and who, enjoy it as well. And I've always said, if my royalties suddenly stop and I don't make any money off of this, then, I had so much fun doing it. And, I would keep on writing even if I weren't being paid for it. So. Okay.
And how about you, David? We haven't checked in with you in a little while.
I'm mostly like Jacob. I just write what I want to write. And, I would say that a lot of my gaming background does play into my stories. They read a lot like video games and books. And
That's a hot market right now. Lit RPG is one of the hottest trending markets going right now.
Well, I mean, that's just how my brain works. I mean, I've been a gamer all my life, and so that definitely just influences it. It's like Jacob said earlier, Kingdom Hearts for his series. And now, see, I didn't think about that until I asked you about it, because something that you said, I was like, that sounds like Kingdom Hearts. Now, I want to read your book for a completely new reason. And I think in terms of marketing, that's definitely something that you can tap into, as you say, I wrote it because I'm a gamer, and maybe you'll like it. You're a gamer too.
It's a good idea.
It's not strictly that. I mean, of course, what I write it makes sense, from a literary standpoint. You just have some extra elements, just a little bit more of a gamer influence.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah. See, I mean, like now I want to read your series like right now, like because I'm like, oh, dude, he's a gamer. Cool.
So release week coming up. See what I did there? Release week coming up for you, Jane. What do you do once it is release week? Are you putting the pressure on, staying on social media?
Yeah, no, I just said hide. No, I will. I just got a review from Paranormal Romance Guild, and I posted that today because I just got it and they loved it. I'll be out on social media. I'll send out my newsletter on Monday because I don't want to do it on a Sunday, even though the release was on a Sunday. I have no idea. I thought it was a Monday or a Tuesday, but I think I was looking at last year when I did it. But yeah, I wanted it out enough to at least gain some traction so that at the end of the week when some of my ads kick in, I'll at least have some visibility and it'll bump up. So, and then on Friday, it'll go back up to normal price.
Now, what will the normal price be on that?
That one will be $2.99.
Okay. Now, I don't remember what the word count was on that, but I wanted to mention the whole pricing thing because that's been another discussion that I've seen flying around the author forums is what prices should be appropriate for what books. And it looks like this year prices are actually going up.
Mm-hmm. I originally had this out at $2.99 because I was going to try to do it at full price. And I said, no, it's the first one in a new series for me. I'll make this one $99. Everything else after that will still go at $2.99. That's what I wanted to price it at. And I'm like, maybe not. So, I want to gain the visibility and people to take a chance on a new series if they hadn't heard of me, because it's a new, the fairy tale romance is a new genre, even though it's paranormal.
99 cents is still that impulse buy price point. It's
right.
Replacing free now as the impulse buy price point because a lot of people are getting sick and tired of going free and not really seeing the result of free.
Right. I stopped doing free this year too, so maybe that was one of the kickers. I even took some of the short story ticklers that I had out there that were really short, like 10 pages short stories that I had for free. I pulled them because I didn't have them on Amazon because I can't get them free price matched. So
well, it's difficult because you want the visibility, you want the sales, especially early on, but you shouldn't, it's not fair, if you don't want to cheapen your work. But I don't know, it just it's frustrating because it's like you give it away for free and you might see online, but I don't know. It's still a puzzle to me.
Well, the big problem is we as indies, I should say, the indie market, we screwed ourselves over from the beginning. Back in 2009, 2010, when indies were really starting to hit the market, it was not uncommon to see an ebook priced at $4.99. We were still under the traditionally priced marketplace. Our books still look good. We were writing the same length books. And then as more indies came to market, the price slowly got driven down because we were all undercutting each other to where 99 cents became the prime price. And then free became the prime price. And then with BookBub and getting a BookBub ad for your free book, you would get so much visibility that everybody was flocking to go free.
Right.
So readers have kind of grown to expect a free book from an author, or at least a first in a series is free. And you get a lot of authors complaining now that they're getting emails, from readers saying, well, I just can't afford your book. Can't I just have it for free? Or I'll sign up to review it if you'll give me the book for free, but I'm not going to pay for this book for whatever reason.
You're not going to pay $1?
Right.
Yeah, it's happening all over. And I think in this last year, a lot of authors have been seriously looking at their price points and what traditional market sells theirs for. And it's been a slow move, but you've seen a lot more people moving up from the 99 cents to $2.99 for a novella, moving up to upwards of $4.99 for a standard novel length, and going as high as I think $7.99 for some of their collected works.
Yeah, I had like 6-book series at $9.99. I took all my box sets off too because I only want to offer them as special offers from time to time, because that was cannibalizing the single book sales. Now I'm seeing a lot more single book sales, but it's taken a little while for that to ramp up too. So there's a lot of things I did from the marketing standpoint that I'm like, okay, I'm seeing sales here, but I'd rather have them buy the series one by one, and maybe every now and then do, oh, look, I'm putting out the, box set, get it while it's, for a limited time, and then pull it. So those are marketing strategies that I'll do, especially with the, the fairy tale series. Once I'm done with it, maybe 3 months or 4 months after the last one comes out, I'll throw out the box set and say limited time, and then pull it off.
Yeah, and I would argue that increasing your prices, it gives the consumer a higher perceived value of what they're getting anyway, because it's like, well, okay, they're charging me for this. This has to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would see it, because like there's a book that's all about like indie video games that I just bought. I think it was like $9 or something like that, and I was like, you know what, that was worth it. I can tell just from the layout, the write-ups, the images, like someone took a very long time putting this book together.
Right.
So, and I was like, yeah, this was definitely worth buying.
Yeah, price and value definitely have to match up. Now, I think one thing that helped to drive the market trend back up again, and it seems kind of unrelated, but not, is BookBub, when they started, was the end all be all. If you get a BookBub ad, you were going to get massive visibility, and you were still going to see the sell through on books 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you had in the series. BookBub became so hard to land an ad for that they basically cut out most of their market. And you know what? It's not worth doing if I'm not going to get the visibility. So why go free?
Right. Well, yeah, I had a BookBub for 99 cents this year. For not the U.S. market, for the world market, and I just barely on the sell-through broke even, which I'm like, this isn't what I've heard about BookBub, even on a national scale. So I was like, and the price for it to go free, you're right. I mean, to go free, it's one thing, and that's if Amazon will price match now. Now they're playing the price matching game, and with that being our biggest market, with Kindle Unlimited, you can do the free days. So you have some control there. But BookBub doesn't want to give Amazon only some of the time too. So that makes it tougher.
I want to say almost 6 months straight, hitting them every time I could to get an ad, and they rejected me, and they rejected me, and rejected me on a book that they had previously done in the past. And it did really well on those times they had done it in the past. And I gave up. I said, I'm not going to chase this ad if it's, one, going to be a hassle, and two, I'm just going to continually hear no. So you look at other avenues for marketing, and while you don't have the same reach that BookBub claims to have, there are other ways around it, and you don't have to go free. And I think that's the biggest thing, is not having to cut your foot off in order to get a sale.
Right. Agreed.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that? Sorry, Jacob, you said you were doing some advertising too. Have you done BookBub at all?
I think that was something that Blaze was trying for me, and they said that it was pretty hard for them. That they tried to get to do one for the Carver recently because they're going to make it 99 cents now that it's a full set, and they said that BookBub denied it. So I'm hearing a lot about how hard it is, like you were just saying.
But back in the day, like when they first started, when they were actually eager to reach people, they'd sent me an email early on. We're talking like 2011, I want to say, to offer me a placement to do an ad. And I said, sure, why not? And I saw the results. And from then on, I was amazed and I wanted to continue going. And I did. For the next couple of years, I always made sure to get BookBub ads when I could, until they got so exclusive it was hard to get in. And then it just became not worth it.
Yeah, I was so excited when I got mine, because I've been trying literally for years. I'm like, every now and then I send in and I get a no, and I'm like, okay, fine. And I got the yes, and I was like, yay! And then it was lackluster, and I was like, you know. But at least I did make my money back. So it broke even. But that's not what you want to do on marketing. You want to make money on marketing.
Yeah, the idea, especially if you have a series, is to get that sell through and really connect with readers.
Right.
I wonder what the next BookBub type thing is. I mean, is it Thunderclap? Is that still a thing?
Thunderclap is still a thing. However, there was another one that worked just like Thunderclap that got bought out and became a paid service. Anybody remember that?
I can't remember the name of it, but I know we did it quite a few times for, and it had lower numbers that you had to get to be able to get it published versus Thunderclap, which you have to have 100. I haven't done Thunderclap in a while, but that's another tool I used to use.
So is there anything else that you guys want to touch on? Upcoming events? I know you're going to be going to Phoenix with them, right, Jacob?
Yeah, so I'll be at Phoenix Comic Fest. That's what they're calling it now. So that's going to be Memorial Day weekend. I'll also be at the Tucson Festival of Books in March. I think that's March 10th and 11th. So really excited about that, just in my own backyard. And then in April, I'll be at the Southern Kentucky Book Festival. So I'm doing a little bit of marketing every month. Good.
Now, what do you bring to your booth? Do you bring banners? Do you bring table runners? Just the books? How do you operate?
I'm still actually brainstorming on that because this will be my first one. But I did get to do kind of like a little indie table at the Tucson Festival of Books last year. And then I brought a bunch of my books, and then I had just like a bunch of swag items set up. So my buttons and bookmarks and a couple of posters, because those got really popular. But I'm still kind of brainstorming for what I'm going to do for the upcoming one. So.
Okay. And what about you, Jane? Do you do conventions and stuff?
I haven't done them in quite a few years. I keep saying I'm going to do the Rhode Island Comic-Con, and I wanted to do that with my son because he wrote a trilogy with me quite a few years ago. So, and he's big into that too, but we just have never committed. And the last ones I had done, I want to say 2014. So it's been quite a few years. I don't have banners, but I'd have to get all that. And I've got a great little, my daughter's got her own business. So I've seen all her stuff, and because she does trade shows for wedding planning. So I'm sort of watching and learning from her as to what to get and where to get it.
Okay.
So sooner or later, I'll get back into that, that track. I'm on the East Coast, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of events still there.
Oh, I'm sure there are. It's just my weekends in the summers are up in Maine. So I'm sure I could find stuff up in Maine, but that's family time. So
that's actually the discussion I'm giving on Monday at the local library here in Henderson. I'm doing a talk specifically on how to manage your book signing, what to bring, how to act, what to have with you, what not to do, the whole 9 yards.
I'd like the PowerPoint.
I could probably send that over to you if I hadn't already. I know you were on my list. I've been working on that one for months because I'd originally wrote a book called Go Publish Yourself. And it had a little bit touched on marketing and stuff. And recently, especially through Spelling Inc., we've learned so much from every author that we've brought on the show that I wanted to expand on the book. And I have since expanded on the book. And I will have copies of that with me when I do signings. But the library had reached out to me and asked, because I do signings all over the place. I'll do anything. I'm always saying yes. So they reached out and they said, do you want to give a talk before our local author convention about doing book signings? And we can kind of roll that into the events leading up to our local signing. I said, sure, why not? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I realized that means I actually have to get up in front of people and speak. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Oh, you're a good public speaker. You did all those panels.
Oh, that was fun. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I did a panel way back when Backspace.org was doing their New York convention. That was interesting, to say the least. It was my first time public speaking. I was terrified, but I was on a panel, and we were talking about graphic sex in books. So I got to talk about that.
Good subject.
In front of a bunch of strangers.
It's easier to talk to strangers. It really is. I've been telling everybody about this event on Monday, and I have made it a point to tell my family, you guys don't have to come. It's okay.
Please don't.
If I screw up, I don't want somebody to hold it over my head. Remember that one time when you... No. You're not there. You'll never know. It's all good. Jacob, you're doing a panel at Tucson, right?
Yeah, so I'm really glad to hear you guys kind of talking about your experiences on that and how the 5 minutes, like to wait 5 minutes, because I'm actually like really terrified for my first panel in Tucson. Like it's only 5 minutes away. Like it's in a place that I work every single day. But I'm going to be with Daniel Jose Older and Zoraida Cordova, and we're going to be talking a little bit about urban fantasies, and we're part of the Nuestras Raíces tent. So it's going to be a lot centered on, kind of our experience as Latino writers, which, I haven't really talked a whole lot about that or really given that a whole lot of thought before. So I'm not really quite sure what kind of questions are going to throw my way. I'm really excited, but yeah, I'm kind of nervous.
and nerves are fine. They're normal, but it's really cool to actually sit up and talk with the other authors too, that are up there at the stage with you.
It's like a sense of authority. It's like, okay, these people know what they're talking about, and that's why they're hosting the panel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they are, experts in their field, but it's that feeling of being with your people, so to speak. When you're sitting on a panel with a bunch of people, these guys are all just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going through the same trials, the same tribulations, the same, ups and downs, and yeah, they're writers. So it's not like talking to a bunch of stockbrokers.
Although you never know where the questions are coming from. It could be a stockbroker asking you a question.
Right, exactly.
But it's definitely something to do if you can. If you get the opportunity, always say yes. Always make yourself available, because it will help your career overall to do them. You appear as an expert. People are more willing to listen to you once they've seen you as an expert in your field. There's that whole, you can talk about your book all day long, but you're the author. No one listens to the author. If somebody else says it, or if you're giving a talk on something that makes you an authority, then people actually listen. And then they kind of get curious and they'll look more closely at you and your work.
I agree.
I can't wait.
Well, if you get a chance, if they do record it, send us a link to it and let us know.
Sure. Yeah, I'll let you know.
And then, of course, we'll be seeing you, Jacob, in Phoenix.
Yes, I can't wait for that. Oh, man.
I'm excited for that. We're going to have fun.
Definitely.
And don't mind Jenna and I. We are OCD about the booth. So just, smile and nod.
It's a good problem to have.
Just gotta stand back and let them set up, and they'll make a space for you and everything. It's great.
Nice.
We go there to work. When it comes to doing, the Comic-Cons, it's fun to go. It's fun to people watch. It's fun to be in the experience of it all. But we also go there to work. So we make sure that we look good. We make sure that we are all high-spirited, that we are energetic and ready to talk to people. And, we try and have fun with it too. But it's definitely, we put the effort in.
Nice. I'm excited.
Jane, your book comes out this weekend, which when the recording goes live, it'll already be available. So what we'll do is make sure to post your links to the book. And then Jacob, yours comes out in a couple weeks. So we probably pre-order links for yours.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send those to you. Yeah, February 20th.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to both of you on the new releases. Thank you again for hanging out with us and returning to tell everybody your stories and give us your marketing insights. This has been a really good episode.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Definitely. And we hope to be able to check in with you guys again later on in the year and see how you're doing. We always like to bring our authors back on and kind of see where they're at and if they've got any new tidbits of wisdom for us.
That would be
Awesome.
lovely. I'd love that.
All right. And David, we didn't get much time to catch up with you, so I'll have to catch up with you after the fact.
Yeah, it's all good. I want to focus on our guests, man.
All right. Well, that's it for this week's episode, and we will be back next week with more authors to introduce you to and more tidbits of wisdom. We'll see you next week, guys. Bye.